I do have to hold it. It would be preferred that you hold it so they can actually hear you out there. You know, I type with my hands. Yep, that is creepy. Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you here in the room and on the call, especially that good-looking guy in the blue T-shirt. This is deeply humbling, and it is a bit overwhelming. And out of all my humility, I do want to begin by talking about the greatest accomplishment in my career, and that will be to get through these next few minutes or more without melting into a puddle up here like the Wicked Witch of the West, but you've all seen me do that before, so won't be any surprise. I'm going to make it even more challenging on myself because I do want to begin by acknowledging and thanking the most important people in the world, my family. You guys know them. I'm really thankful and honored that my lovely wife Leah has been able to join us today, a bride of 35 years. It's fitting that she's here. It's her event as much as it is mine, and she's been with me every step of the way. I look forward to the future. Our wonderful three kids, Jacob, Josh, and Anna. I saw Jacob and his daughter up there. Well, there they are right here. There's Jacob and Emma. Jacob, Josh, and Anna. Those four have been my motivation for anything good or challenging or long-lasting that I've ever done. Our family's grown. We're a group of 7 now. Wonderful daughters-in-law, Megan and Laura, and beautiful baby Emma. That greater group of 7 is the focus of my attention and the object of my planning going forward. But Leah is my modern-day Proverbs 31 woman. It is because of her only that I lack nothing. When Leah said I do to me, she didn't plan to say okay to SASE, but she willingly shared me over nights, weekends, holidays with SASE. And you people are the family that she never planned to have. The kids, they just thought it was all normal. They thought this lifestyle that we endure was the way it was supposed to be. They thought when families traveled that it was normal for moms to drive and dads to ride with a computer in their lap, frustrated with unreliable hotspot. Kids grew up in this building. Easter egg hunts, picnics, project and proposal sleepovers. It's probably best that the boys aren't here. They'd be stripped down to their undies already. Just for old time's sake, this was their second home, and many of you were their aunts and uncles. I'm thankful for that, as long as they don't start referring to Mike Tomlinson as their daddy. Yeah, and people ask me, why am I quitting? And I'm quick to say, I'm not quitting. I've been beat. I can no longer write award nominations better than Dan Welch. Not really. I'm not quitting. I have reached the finish line. Question is, have I succeeded? I think the answer is yes, because I can be quickly and easily replaced by the capable hands of those around me. And I'm proud to be a part of that value chain. I'm thankful for a charmed career. It was made possible early by selfless leaders like Mike Lowe. Mike was a role model for me in partnering and leading. He thought they were one and the same. If there's anything good about my leadership style that may persist with our PMs and our programs today, we have Mike to thank for that. That's his fingerprint that lasts long on a good organization. My greatest fulfillment came in accepting that others were capable of succeeding, excelling, thriving, and producing great results, even if they did it differently than me. My long days became short years very, very quickly as I was surrounded by great people, succeeding at hard things. And most of those years were spent in a very vulnerable place, realizing that my job was simply to facilitate the greater success of others who had talents that were different and better than my own. The talent that I never expected to have to develop was cheese finding. You know, when somebody moves your cheese, when somebody moves your cheese, or if the old cheese starts to smell bad, it's time to re-enter the maze and search of new cheese. I've enjoyed 3 different types of cheese in my cheese-eating SAIC career. First, Mike Lowe set the trap and lured me into SAIC with the promise to work on a contract to bankrupt the Soviet Union. It was bold, but that was Mike Lowe. We satisfied the requirements of that contract. The wall came down, peace broke out all over, evil empire disbanded, and we excelled our way right out of jobs. It was time to re-enter the maze, finding cheese. But then, a lot of engineers in Huntsville were searching for any kind of cheese. Many of them found it on the pizzas that they were delivering. We thought that third world threats presented first world opportunities. And so we smelled it out. We knew that different types of weapon systems in different parts of the world had to be characterized. So we swung for the fence with laser scanning, reverse engineering, computer-aided design, computational electromagnetics, all the train algorithms, so that sensors could better detect, recognize, and track new evolving threats. We call that digital engineering today. SAIC has an entire community of practice aligned with it. Back then, we just thought about it as new cheese. We developed new technologies, we developed new software, and if we couldn't create it, we acquired companies that already had it. Pioneers. We were pioneers by name and action, but there was a threat that we didn't anticipate. 2013, SAIC changed its name to Leidos, a word that if you only just read it, you couldn't pronounce it, and if you only just heard it, you wouldn't be able to spell it. And then a millisecond later, Leidos spun out a small startup company and called it SAIC. Confusing, but in the split with Leidos, in the reorganization of new SAIC into customer groups, supported by matrix service lines, the cheese was diced and dispersed. It was time to find new cheese. At that point, I smelled a different kind of cheese. It was the kind that smelled like feet. It was the kind that you could only stomach if you acquired the taste. I found myself in the new SAIC Army Business Unit, still working for Robin West. Rob Elitch. I had known my friend Rob long enough, and I knew him well enough to know that if Rob wanted to get rid of somebody, he would either give them an impossible assignment, or he would trick Craig Naudane into thinking that Craig could steal them from Rob. Well, apparently, not even Craig thought that I was worth the stealing. So impossible assignment it was. The new Army Intel account. A business area where the new company had no customers, no contracts, no capability, and no chance. And worse than an impossible assignment was an unpalatable staffing plan Rob also tasked a new, unproven, recent retiree to the job. I had no more appetite to work with Drew Clanton than he had for me. In fact, in our initial meeting, I spent the first 10 minutes showing Drew how to use Fusion for program management. And in the last 10 years, Drew has shown me how to develop customers and manage programs. Army Intel account wasn't Drew's only contribution. His first big score was to bring Cytor, their INSCOM work, onto Kevin Wire's AMCOM Express task order. I think I saw Kevin. Yeah, Kevin, thank you. Saw Kevin come in, bring Cytor's INSCOM work onto Kevin's AMCOM Express task order. Intel never sounded more like aviation and missile support than how we described it to Kevin. Yeah, so that INSCOM work was the cornerstone for what has become a very successful account, a giant leap of direction. Give me a minute. Oh, and so in the early days, Tony Morocco, the CEO, had a keen interest in new SAIC's new intelligence business, and he would meet monthly with the EU Intel leads. Very intimidating for me, given our humble beginnings. And in one of those meetings, Tony asked the Intel leads if we had recommendations for an Intel company for acquisition based on positive experiences. I nominated Cytor because I knew then what I've practiced ever since. If anything went wrong, I could blame Drew Clanton. And I've been blaming Drew ever since for relentlessly pushing the SAIC brand into new markets, for successfully winning the hearts and minds of new customers, for passionately holding people accountable for high performance, and for effectively creating new opportunities where we can contractually operate as owners, not just as tenants, and organizationally become sons, no longer orphans. Huge. Mike Lowe was the force that attracted me to SAIC. Drew is the force that held me at SAIC. My parents knew Mike. They loved him. Even though I was an only child, if they were still here, Drew would be known and loved as one of Mama Cook's boys. They say when you spend enough time with somebody, you begin to take on their attributes. When I came to work at SAIC, I had hair. It was long and brown and curly. Now, I look like Doug Wiltsey. When I told Doug 9 months ago that I was looking to retire in the next year, I fully expected Doug to say, "Jimmy, thanks for saving me the trouble. How can I help you pack?" But it was truly my decision. The first one that Doug ever let me make. It's probably the last one that Leah will allow. Then I informed John Rucker, and John said, "Jimmy, great leaders can't be replaced in only 9 months." But then Josh Jackson replaced John in only 4 days. So, I mean, I don't know. Go figure. You know, there are some things that I wish were different. Yeah, you guys get comfortable. There's some things I wish were different. We're here to commemorate my 37 years of recorded SAIC service. my last paper. I plan to submit time card correction. Oh, this is going to be good. To reflect the 55 effective man years I've actually worked. That way, Mike Spackholz will remember me longer than everybody else. And there are several things that I'm going to miss, actually. I'm going to miss Ron Roth's penchant for expensive wine and his ability to stick the bill to others, making them think he did them a favor. I'm gonna miss the after-hours phone calls from Kevin Wire because they made me so appreciative of all the other phone calls that weren't from Kevin Wire. And I'm gonna miss the collaboration. Like when Joyner Livingston managed programs for Vinny DeFranzo's Air Force customer on Sam McKenzie's Army training contract while he was working in Mike Tomlinson's Studies and Analysis Division and generating all the revenue for me. That's a collaboration catalyst. Should have been a Jim Award. I'm going to miss AOP planning and quarterly forecasting because I have no more use for sandbags. And when I worry about the Chinese reading my internet traffic, I'm going to miss sharing an email account with John Clark. I'm also going to miss finally learning how Gabe Camarillo planned to restructure and redistribute the vice president's titles. That's an inside joke, I guess. Also going to miss receiving personal memos from the CEO, especially favorable ones. I'm even going to miss Bob Genter and Nazik, just like I miss Dave Jimenez. And I'm going to miss Jim Scanlon, standing on the beach, directing us weary fishermen to row back out and do it differently. I'm going to miss being in the sinking boat, overloaded with stinking fish because of our success. And when I remember the growth in the business, the impact to the bottom line, the wealth for the shareholder, I'm going to miss being reminded that it never was about the fish. It's always about the men. And because it was about the men, Jesus told us to go the extra mile. Now, isn't it funny that Jim Scanlon gave Jim Awards, not JIM Awards, GEM Awards, awards for going the extra mile. Think about that. In Roman times, the first mile was required. It was transactional. It was how the citizens got back to zero with what they owed. The second mile was voluntary. It was relational. It's where all the value was gained. The company, it represents the first mile. It's transactional. What we do for the company, they pay us for that. People are the second mile. The relationships. True wealth comes from investing in relationships. You people have made me a very wealthy man. For me, it's not about the company. It's about the company that I've kept. And it's not about the years. It's about the moments. And I've been blessed with the greatest moments with the best of friends in my 37-second miles here at SAIC. It's a 2-mile track, and I have reached the finish line, but I'm not retiring from the race. That's not my reward. My reward is in retaining these relationships. Thank you guys for making that possible.
First and finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the Zoom. Dr. Farrell, it's good seeing you. Jay, it's so good that y'all took time to honor Jimmy. We have refreshments in the back, and for the Zoom attendees, thank you again, Jacob. It's good seeing you again. Thank you for honoring us with your presence today, and I hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you again.